So thinking to the college football playoff rankings from last week when we did have Georgia at 1, Ohio State at 2, Alabama 3, Cincinnati 4, Michigan 5, Notre Dame 6, and Oklahoma State 7. I wanted to start to put together what the scenarios are going to be for not only the college football playoff rankings in terms of what we expect the selection committee to do, but also what that means for a conference championship weekend. So I want to begin in the SEC, where Georgia was ranked number 1 and Alabama was ranked number 3. Ohio State loses. Do you think that Alabama's fourth quarter comeback, the quadruple overtime win against Auburn in the Iron Bowl, do you think that is going to give the selection committee enough to be able to move them into number 2? Or does Michigan make the same move it made in the AP?
I would assume Michigan jumps to 2, because I just think that win over Ohio State is better than any win Alabama has. So if you're looking at like one-loss teams and you're comparing their resumes, Michigan, I think, has the stronger overall resume. Michigan has looked more impressive in its wins. Its one loss was a narrow loss to a Michigan State team that's probably going to be in the top 10 or very close to the top 10, whereas Alabama's loss is to a now 8-4 Texas A&M team. So if it's not Michigan above Alabama, I'll be really surprised.
But this is Bama. They do have a lot of 4 and 5 stars on that roster. And I was watching that game unfold, the Iron Bowl, and I was just marveling at everything about it during the broadcast. And Gary Danielson's talking about Bama, and he's like, hey, I'd still put this team in, even if they lost today, but they beat Georgia, I'd still put them in as a 2-loss team. And I must say, I have to give credit to the SEC and all of this for making it feel as if getting taken to 4 overtimes by a 6-6 Auburn team is like beating the Green Bay Packers. Like, that's what it just, I was like looking at this. I'm like, they make this feel like this is a resume builder, not something that would bring your resume down. Now, that's the emotion of the game. I wonder if the committee sits back, but they watch like a lot of us, and they watch and they hear things that are said during the broadcast. So I don't know if it's going to hurt them that much. And what they'll remember is, whoa, Bryce Young, maybe the best quarterback in the country. They could beat anybody with him. So I don't know. I think Michigan should be 2, but we know the committee loves the SEC and they love Alabama.
So if Alabama's 2, that further sets up the can lose and still be top 4 scenario.
They're not getting into the top 4 if they lose. I'm sorry. They're not.
Are you saying that because it's what your heart says? Because
do you know how many things have to happen? Because you got to remember, there's still a one-loss Notre Dame out there that can't lose again. So Alabama's doesn't have a great win.
I think that Notre Dame needs 2 of the following 4 results. Iowa win over Michigan, Houston win over Cincinnati, Baylor win over Oklahoma State, and Georgia convincingly. They just need 2.
No, Georgia just has to win. It doesn't have to be convincing.
Notre Dame needs that. You think that
No. If Alabama loses, it's out. We can keep pretending it's going to get in. It's not. They're not going to put 2-loss teams in if there's 1-loss Power 5-ish teams out there, period.
So what if there's not?
Notre Dame will be a 1-loss Power 5 team. It can't lose. It doesn't have another game.
Yep.
I think
I thought you said Power 5 champion. I don't know if Notre Dame's a lock. I mean, you dig deep.
I think that our brains are so scarred that we're terrified of it happening, and we convince ourselves it's going to happen. But I just don't think it's going to happen. If they lose to Georgia, they're not going to be in. And frankly, not to spoil the locks pod, I don't think it's going to be much of a conversation after Saturday anyway, because based on what Alabama has looked like to me for the last month compared to how Georgia has looked, I don't think it's going to be close. I think Georgia's going to beat the shit out of them, just to be blunt. And I think that the bigger question in Tuesday night is, does Oklahoma State replace Cincinnati? Because now Oklahoma State has a win that's on par or better than Cincinnati's win over Notre Dame.